everybody. You're in presentation mode, so why don't you just go ahead and I will hit you.
Perfect. Okay, yes, good morning. So today we're going to be Steph Bishop, numeracy coach, and myself, Jessica Munharvey, instructional coach itinerant for ESL ELD, are presenting to you today ELLs and MathUp. We've been very excited about this collaboration because we see the MathUp as such a fantastic resource, accessible for so many different types of learners, but we wanted to have the opportunity to go through specifically with ELLs today, but you may find some other, this may work for other students, some of the adaptations that we have. So our tagline is multiplying opportunities for exponential growth. The idea is that if we are intentional in our instruction of math as well as language, we can multiply our opportunities for our ELLs to exponentially grow across the curriculum in different subjects and move much faster. Oftentimes teachers think, well, for an ELL in math, I need to remove the language in order for them to be able to do it. But that's counterproductive to what we want to do. If we're going to be shrinking those gaps, we need to be doing things at the same time, language and math at the same time. So we wanted to organize today's session just like Marion Small organizes her lessons in MathUp to give you that framework. So she always starts with a student learning goal. And so we have here our educator learning goal today, which is I can make language accessible for my ELLs while simultaneously creating opportunities for deep mathematical thinking. This is the equity part of it. We want to have students be able to do the deeper thinking as long as we do some scaffolding of the language to help them do that. So in this session, we will use a variety of tools from Google to make language accessible in MathUp content. And the point is that this session will allow educators to develop simple strategies to scaffold language development and to make grade level content accessible. So the word scaffold is just like a scaffold on a building. You have a scaffold outside of a building as you are building the foundation. And as more of the building is created, less of the scaffolding is needed, so that gets pulled away. And so it's the same thing with language development. We don't want to keep our scaffolds there for too long. They're just temporary supports until the kids learn the language and then they can go forward on their own.
Jessica, can I interrupt for a second?
Of course.
I just want to welcome a bunch more people that just popped on. So we have about six more people. I just wanted to mention that if you have any questions today, feel free to put them in the chat. But I do want to let everybody know that we are recording this session because it'll probably be the last one that time we'll present this. So if you don't want to be on the recording, you can just turn your video off. And finally, because we have a bunch of newcomers, we're just going to say again that this session is meant to be a plethora of information. Please just sit back and relax and take what you can out of it. Yes. Don't think that we're going to be saying this is something that you should do by the end of this session.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll just sign off there.
Yes, exactly. We're doing a turbo drive through it today. So yes, Steph, thanks for the reminder. Please just relax. You don't have to take any notes. Everything will be available for you. The slideshow deck, all of the links to the tools that we're using, and step-by-step instructions about how to use it. So it is a whirlwind, but you can sit back as we go. All right, so the gaps between multilinguals and their peers can be minimized when we allow the development of language through mathematical thinking. It's really the only way we can. If we're looking at every subject that an ELL has as an opportunity to learn language, then they can learn content and language at the same time, and those gaps shrink. So today we're going to be walking through a MathUp lesson with imagining that it's going to be a step one student that we're working with, and then you can adapt it, pulling away some of the scaffolds or adding as you think would be fit. But today we're picking a type of student that would need the most support, and so it's really just a matter of taking things away if you don't need it. So we want to pick a very typical case study here. So we have Mohammed, a newcomer in grade 5. He was born in Syria, but has been living in Turkey for the last 5 years. Arabic is his home language, though he also learned Turkish while attending school. He was assessed at the Family Reception Center as being an ESL Step 1 in reading, writing, and oral. He was also assessed as having grade level numeration skills. This is quite typical. At the Family Reception Center, they really only look at numeration, just like really Marion Small is focusing mostly on that as well. And so for a grade 5 newcomer, they would look at all of the grade 4, what was to be completed by the end of grade 4 in math, and then they would test that to see how, if they're at grade level or not. So this is very typical. So it's really the language that needs the support, but we have really the mathematical knowledge there. I've just linked here because, again, you'll have the slideshow that you can look to it later. I've linked to the junior step form. Just as an example, if you were looking at a step 1 student, you would see through oral reading and writing a lot of similarities in terms of what a step 1 student needs, that they would often be demonstrating that they can recognize high frequency words, that they require the use of visuals, that they use their first language mixed in with English, and that for writing, they would require some sort of a guide from the teacher to help them structure their sentences. The second link here is for learning at home, a little just a tip sheet for assessment and evaluation of ELLs that you can look on your own time, really focusing on formative assessment, but I've just given a little run through of everything you need to know. So the strategies that we're going to be using in today's session is we're going to be using home language strategically to pair with English. When translating instructions, we're only going to use essential words and focus on present tense. We're going to be annotating instructions and activities. That means using color and symbols strategically to help develop language. We're going to be focusing on 2 different types of language. So for this, we have our subject-specific vocabulary, which would be our key math terms, but also tier 2 words. So tier 2 words are really those high-frequency words that can really empower students because they're used across subject areas. Words such as explain, notice, and example. So we want to help them with math, but we also want to help them with language that they'll be able to carry outside of the classroom. Lastly, the other scaffold strategy that we'll be touching upon is the idea that we need to anchor our speech with visual representations. If you think about your words when you're talking to students, talking to ELLs in particular, your words, as soon as you stop speaking, they disappear. It's like they float away. They're floating in the air as you're talking, you stop talking, and they're gone. So we really want to anchor them and bring them back down to something that the students would be able to look at again, think about, and really be able to consolidate in their brain. So we want to be focusing on key vocabulary. And the way that we do that is through a simple strategy, which we'll explain for you later, but it's basically repeating keywords, rephrasing key ideas, and recording in a visual representation. The strategy is called the 3 R's. You're asking other students to be rephrasing ideas, and then you're recording by putting it in some sort of visual representation, whether it be a diagram, an image, or simply writing down the words so the student sees it again afterwards and it's not lost, and hasn't floated away. Lastly, these are the tools that we're going to be highlighting in today's session: the Google Translate extension, the screenshot, Google Translate, Jamboard, Screencastify, Google Read and Write to create a vocabulary list, and tactic pins for Google Meet extension. All of those links there link you either to the extension itself or explain how you could use it, so you don't have to worry about that. And lastly, we've created a Google Classroom for ELLs and MathUp. The class code is also embedded in this slideshow, so you'll have it later on and you're welcome to join. So you'll be able to see all of the tools that we're using today. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have our student Mohammed, and we want to be creating a lesson for him. So we would start with, I just jumped into MathUp here. We took a grade 5 lesson just because it's right in the middle, but really this could be applicable for any grade. Every lesson in MathUp has planning, minds on, action, and consolidate. So we're going to be going through all of those sections here today. So as we do the planning, see it's set up just like how we did our slideshow today. But the first thing you'd want to be doing is really reaching out to families. And because the family engagement part is really important, just providing the opportunity for the parents to be involved if they wish. And those sorts of seeds that you plant with families, knowing that it's still quite difficult to have regular, frequent, and easy communication with our ELLs. At this point, we're still working as a board to be able to get easier ways to do that for you. But there's certainly tools that we can use right now that would make it much easier. So the Sum It Up section is what Marion always suggests that you send home. And it really is fabulous because it just sums up everything that you're going to be doing. So when the key understandings for this particular lesson. So as you can see, this is quite long, and of course it's all in English. So then what are we going to do with that? Well, we look up at the top. She always gives options for what you can do. You can either just get a link to this and send to your families, or in this case, just print. Neither one of these things work for us because our families are not speaking English yet at this point. So simply what you could do for this, now we have the Google Translate extension up here at the top, and I've sent a link for you to be able to put that on your own computer if you don't already have it. It's fabulous because we'll just take a couple clicks here, translate this page, and then it's going to come up here. I already had it set to Arabic, but if it starts in English, you can come in, choose whatever language you want, and put it into Arabic. And now you have the whole thing in Arabic. Now, everybody always says with Google Translate, oh, well, you know, it's not accurate. Sometimes, but I think in this case, the more that we can do to scaffold the understanding that you've got some visuals here, it's highly unlikely that they're not going to be getting the point of what you have here. So now you can't just send this whole thing to a family because it's only translated on your computer. So really what you need to do is do a screenshot. Now I recommend doing a screenshot of just a section because this is a lot to send home to a family. You could really just do the part that you think is most important. So for that, you just hit the Control button, Shift, and then the key above the 6. That's how you do a screenshot. And then you just highlight what you want. Say we take that. And then now you're going to copy to clipboard. And then what you do is you simply open up a new Google Doc and you paste it inside. So I'll just show you our version that we did here in Arabic. So I put all the steps of how to do it. And then just to show you here, when you open up a Google Doc and you just paste it inside, then you can send it to families. It's a small gesture that really means a lot. It's showing that you expect or hope that the parents may be involved in it, or that you're just letting them know that this is happening. So it's a powerful gesture more than just this is what we're doing in math. It's just you're respecting or thinking of the parents as a possible partnership, since the parents are all the first teachers of their children anyways. So let's go back here to the next section, which we would be moving into, which for our MathUp lesson, we'd be going into the Minds On task. So the Minds On is really where we're activating student interest in the topic. It's meant to be engaging, and it's also providing the foundation for what you're going to be doing for the rest of this section. So since the focus is going to be dividing 3 numbers by 1 number, the Minds On task here provides a fun little activity for kids, which I can show you here. When you go to project, this is what kids would see if you were doing it in the classroom. So it's simply picking a number less than 100, multiply your number by 4, then add them together. And when you do this little thing, what you find out is that the number that you end up with is the number that you started with. You divide it by 5 at the end. So we want to make sure, this is all words here, so this would not be very accessible to a step 1 learner. So there's some simple things we can do here. I'll just close this up and I'll show you what we did in, this is in our ELLs and MathUp Google Classroom. So we just simply copied and then pasted the instructions for that task onto a new Google Doc. We spaced it out. And then here's where I did the annotating. So you'll notice all in red are the mathematical terms: less than with a symbol, multiply with a symbol, add with a symbol, divide with a symbol. Use different colors again for tier 2. Now, of course, you don't have to do all of this, right? But these are just other little ways that you can provide extra scaffold, because regardless of what language you speak, the kids will probably notice that there's certain colors here. And why are these things one color and these things another? So the word example, I just simply copied and pasted the word example. Just very simply Control C, and then go into Google Translate. If you don't use this, it's really such a wonderful tool. We really live in the best time to be able to teach ELLs right now. It's so much easier than any other time in history. Control V as in Victor to paste it, and then I already have it set to Arabic here. So then all you have to do is click this button which says Copy Translation. Now translation is copied, and then you would go back to your original document and just Control V, and you can paste it on there. So very simple. So the next part, the original instruction said try it a couple more times with different starting numbers. It's an okay instruction, but you always want to try to eliminate any non-essential words. So we could take that same sentence and just rephrase it as try again with different numbers. Same meaning, but just less words to navigate. And then that is the phrase that I copied and pasted into Google Translate to then give us our Arabic version. Original questions again had 2 questions side by side. What do you notice? Why does that make sense? Another simple alteration you can make is just do it more like a ladder. You have 1 question at a time. What do you notice? Which I translated, and then can you explain why in the translation? Simple things like that make a big difference. Then providing the choices at the end that they could either type or speak their answer into Google Translate. There's a little microphone there that they could just speak in Arabic and it comes out in English. Again, not perfect, but you can get the gist of what they're saying. And then if they type it, they can copy and paste their answer below, or they could try it in English with the words notice. And because I've provided a little sentence stem here, the stem is just giving the beginning part of the sentence and the students try to fill in the rest. So you're really just trying to provide practice with vocabulary at this point, and you want to ensure that the kids understand what to do. So they may understand by just this, but we wanted to make sure that this was super clear because we have a step 1. So the other thing that we did, Steph made a example here, a little video, very simple little video using Screencastify. If you have not already checked out Screencastify, this is probably the most powerful tool that you could use in an online environment. So I highly recommend checking that out from BNLT if you haven't already. And then she also used Jamboard, which is an interactive whiteboard, which is fabulous for use in mathematics as well. And there's been math coach sessions that have shown how to use interactive virtual whiteboards as well as Jamboard. But I'll just let you get a glimpse of how she took this instruction and made it into a video to really make sure it was crystal clear.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to go through an example of the Minds On activity that you will be trying on your own. There's 4 different steps. We'll start with step 1. Step 1 says pick a number less than 100. I've decided I'm going to pick 82. Okay. Second one says, step 2, multiply 82 by 4. So I'll multiply the number you choose by 4. So I'm going to pick 82 multiplied by 4, and it equals 328. Step 3.
Okay. I'll just stop it there because you're getting already the idea. I don't think I said it already, but Screencastify is just a way to record your computer screen and narrate over top of it. And so you just press the button Screencastify, it starts to record, and so she can have this on her own computer screen in the Jamboard, and then can annotate it and show how it works. So ultimately at the end, she's going to show that she ends up with the same number, 82, as she had at the beginning. You're not doing it for the kids because in this case, you're really showing how to do it, but then they have to try again with their own numbers anyway. So they're still getting all of the thinking, but you're just ensuring they understand. You may even be thinking about other students. It doesn't have to be that this is just for ELLs. You may have other students that will just benefit from this extra scaffold. So this also helps. Once you've done this, now you can be sure that your students understand what to do. So what you may want to do at that point after the minds-on task is get together and have a discussion about the patterns that you noticed, seeing if there is any linkage to noticing about dividing in this case. But we'll leave that part to you. We're just going to keep rolling here, taking a look at the time here. Action. So when we get to our action task in MathUp, it is this is now when the kids are taking the idea that they learned in Minds On, and now they're going to be applying it to a word problem that they can grapple with. So I'm just going to give you the project version of this, where you can see it's a word problem. First of all, with MathUp, as students that are not step one, that just need a little bit of help, there's all these features here where it can read it out loud for them. You'll also notice when you look at the questions, there's not a lot of extra words. So they're really, really sticking to just the essentials here. So when I look at this and I see Ryan and Kyle serve 249 meals at the community kitchen, Ryan served twice as many meals, how many meals did each boy serve? We notice that there's some key words that we see repeating: meals, serve, twice as many, some key things that we think our kids might need to know. And I'll show you how to make a vocabulary list for that, which is super simple. But let's just go back here. You'll notice for this particular task and the action task, it gives you an option to link it, which you could only do if you knew that all the kids could understand the English part. But here's the other button that we really want here. It's the Add Edit button. So for that, that shows you that you can alter the document to provide extra scaffolds if needed. So when we hit that button, we now get the same question on a different page, but we can't, like, I can't click on this and do anything yet. So what I need to do is make a copy. Once I make a copy of this and you rename it to something meaningful for you, it might be action task, dividing 3-digit by 1-digit numbers, whatever. And then now this is all editable. So you can go in and change things if you want. So the first thing that I would do, well, I'll just show you what we actually made here. So here it is. Grade 5 action task. I gave you all the steps about how to do this, but at the top here, but let's just open it up. So the action task here, we've taken the same thing now, but notice I don't have any, like, everything is sort of all written in lines going across. I've taken it and done it one after the other. Again, it's just simpler and easier to understand in that way. So Ryan and Kyle served 249 meals. Ryan served twice as many. You'll notice here that the questions are in blue. I did it here too. And the show all your work is in green. So again, just using a little bit of color so that they show these are the things that are repeated. These are things you do something different for. I didn't do anything else other than took the actual question itself and copied and pasted it into Google Translate and then put it down here. You always want to have the English and the Arabic together because that helps the kids learn the language going forward. Now, the highlighted words you may be wondering about, that was something I did afterwards because I wanted to create a vocabulary list. So let me show you here. You just click on your Google Read and Write extension. And what you have up here is this button that's called Vocabulary. And it's quite magical, actually. All you do is you highlight using your highlighter in the text, what words do you want the kids to know? So I would never choose more than 5 words. That's absolutely maximum. Because you really, once you get over that, then the kids are going to have trouble retaining this. So what we did was we made a little vocabulary list, which I'll show you here. Once you just click that button, you highlight the words, you click that button in Google Read and Write. I have all the instructions here, and look what it produces. A beautiful, professional-looking vocabulary list. I did not do any formatting here whatsoever. They just plug the words in. They give you the definitions, but they give you multiple definitions. So I chose the one that I thought would be best for each one, and they give you multiple symbols. I just chose the symbol that I thought would be best for each one. And then I added the Arabic section. So I just put Arabic and put each word and translated it onto the side. And so there you have something, again, that's really going to help the kids to move forward. And now they understand those keywords without having everything translated. Okay, let's go back to the Google Classroom and onto our consolidation. So the last part you'd want to do, absolutely with ELLs in particular, Google Meets are really essential because you get an opportunity for the social interaction and practicing some social language. We've linked here to a Google Meet etiquette in Arabic. The board is creating all kinds of resources that can be used in different languages. They keep updating it all the time. If you go to the OCDSB Learn at Home page on the right-hand side, you'll see all of the multilingual resources that they're coming up with. But look how great this is. You can just send this to kids. There's an English version, so you'll know what it says, but it's all supported with visuals, and it shows them just the etiquette of what you do in a Google Meet to help them know how to participate. And then, of course, I lost my Google Classroom here. We'll get to the last section here in the consolidate. We move to the importance of having the discussion at the end. And so that's really the key part where you're going to be drawing out those essential understandings. And so this is really what you're leading up to. So here we have a little very simple consolidation of key understandings task here. So I mentioned the 3R strategy that I said at the beginning here. When you have a Google Meet with the kids, you want to be thinking about repeating those keywords, rephrasing those key ideas. Don't do it all as the teacher. Ask somebody else in the Google Meet. If Ali could rephrase what Jennifer just said about this particular idea, and then record those key understandings. The recording part is what we need to, it doesn't matter the tool that you use, but if the ELL hears the words and the ideas multiple times and then anchors it to a visual, that it's recorded, example, highlighting words, making a picture with labels in Jamboard, then they're much more likely to remember. So this is just a very simple Jamboard example that I did, where you just open up a new Jamboard and you just draw a picture with your finger. It's very basic. But if we were just noticing that Muhammad's strategy was that he noticed that there was one whole was the 249 meals, and if you divide it into 3 equal parts, that's what you could go forward with. The benefit of having doing this online is that if the kids send you their responses from their action task, you have the opportunity then at home to look through them and decide which students do you want to maybe pair together for your Google Meet. And then you could think about what are the key ideas that they've done that we could draw upon to get essential understandings for everybody. So it's an important part at the end that we want to draw through and make sure that the kids walk away with their key understandings. Last thing is for the tactic extension, for which I had in our original Google Slides. Tactic pins, I have a little, it's just this little cloud here at the top. It's a little extension you can put on your computer. So whenever you have a Google Meet and you open it up, it'll give you an option of clicking the closed caption button, which then creates this perfect, clean transcript of who talked when and what did they say. And then it automatically gets saved to your Google Drive at the end. So you could then edit it at the end, pull out what are the key ideas that kids said, maybe adding, a picture or highlighting or something in there, and then send that back to the kids. The benefit of doing it virtually is, of course, you're not managing a whole classroom like you are when you're at school. You can kind of choose your group of kids you're differentiating with, and then ensure that they're getting the understandings that they need. So I think that's it. We'll just roll on back.
Thanks, Jess. I know you have another presentation at 11:30.
That's okay. I'm just participating. I'm not presenting, so it's okay.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm just going to stop recording.